Our chronological rewatch of the Clone Wars has finally led us to the film. Sides of Coin starts right now. All right, boys, the day has arrived. We have slogged through the mire that is the Clone Wars, theatrically released movie. The last bit of Star Wars that we were ever going to get in the theater. So let's talk about it. Joining us, as always, is Michael.
Sup?
And we've also got Nick on the phone from South
How's it going,
Virginia.
guys?
Welcome, Nick. All right, let's get into this. This is a lot. There's a lot that happens in here, and I kind of want to talk about the different perspectives we're going to have today, because Nick, you're seeing this for the first time, and you're seeing it chronologically for the first time. The rest of us, we got this, and that was it. Right? And then like they said at the end, like, oh, by the way, we're doing a TV show too. My God. I want to know if it was any different for you having seen some episodes before it, so you kind of knew where it was going and what you could get out of this, as opposed to just experiencing what we all did, which was a mediocre film.
Yeah, I guess I had heard about it before, and my expectations were kind of low. But I think for the overall story and canon-wise, it wasn't too bad. You know, I enjoyed watching it.
That's not a bad take, but it's a different take than I've got. I liked the first third of it. Maybe Ahsoka was cool only because I know where she's going, but my God, it was rough. And then there's so many rough bits of dialogue too. I mean, Sky Guy and all that sort of, that
R2E.
R2E, dude. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't terrible. But then as it keeps going, the second act was worse, and then the third act was just, to me, I didn't connect with it. But so that's my take. But Michael, what were your general thoughts? Walk us through your feelings throughout the film.
So when I saw this in theaters, I didn't hate it nearly as much as I probably should have. I definitely remember watching the first part and seeing like the clone troopers try to, beat a battle droid to death and then get shot in the face, get picked up and killed, and all that stuff. I was like, wow, this is not something I was expecting to see. Sorry, Wyatt cringing over there. And then so the whole Christophsis plot was fine. The thing with Obi-Wan sitting down and having the little ambassadorial talk thing was a little cringy, but I'm like, okay, it's Obi-Wan, like I'll buy it.
Yeah.
The Scottish whatever that character was, whatever his species is
I'm
interesting.
a pig from the Highlands. Oink oink. Why don't you? Let's have some tea.
Bring us something liquid.
I want that to be a soundbite when you walk into the bar. But bring me something liquid.
but legitimately, that was an interesting point that Obi-Wan was like, yeah, by the way, if you capture us, like, you gotta feed our troops and you gotta house us, which you don't have to do with battle droids. And I don't know, it was like a touch of I wonder how this actually works. This is probably why they don't take prisoners, kind of thing.
Right.
And then the whole, all right, and now we've got to cut to the next episode where now we've got like Jabba, because Jabba has a son, because his son, and he's got, it's been captured by the Separatists, but they don't know that. And so now we got to go find this, it's a whole nother episode. And that whole siege on that monastery thing was kind of cool. It's kind of cool, but like the plot made no sense as to why they were doing that and why they were there, and all the back and forth between Ahsoka and Anakin was a little cringy. But
so how do the ATTEs walk up the cliff?
And why did we replace them? Because man, those were great machines.
They're much better.
So much better than AT-ATs. And the new like, I don't know, the ape things with like the big fists.
Oh yeah,
the new ones.
The
like why did we do that? Why didn't we go back to the other ones? Man.
So particularly it's like they had a lot of money for Christophsis, and they used it all.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of, the scale got smaller and smaller as the film went on, which typically it's the inverse with films, right? Like you start off with rather small scale, and then by the end you've got like the end game style
right
big battle royale going on. So it was interesting, but it didn't really connect with me. General Loathsome was loathsome. And I don't know, man.
The battle droids were cringy. The only thing that wasn't really cringy was the clone troopers. I think they were excellent. Rex was excellent. Even him, like, giving some life lessons to Ahsoka was good. And then her, well, I guess I gotta get some experience. I'm like, oh, okay, stop it.
Well, okay, so let's be fair to a couple things. It's a lot of fun to shit on the movie, and I do a lot of that. But so George Lucas has always made a very big point of Star Wars is for kids. And it's for 12-year-olds, and maybe this is for 8-year-olds, but it's still like the same mantra, right?
Yeah.
And so I guess from different perspectives, like the droids, I could imagine being an 8-year-old boy and being like,
I hated them when I was
funny.
but
yeah, no, I
middle school, high
I'm just
school.
trying to have an open mind here. Michael. I didn't like it either, but yeah, I mean, I think there's definitely different audiences, and maybe that's the first thing you see and you get drawn in, and then it, you grow up with it, because people hated the prequels, but we grew up with the prequels, and now that's
I didn't hate them, but yeah.
I know you didn't, but a lot of people did, and you're rather young, Michael. I'm talking about the people that grew up with the original trilogy and all those folks. So but yeah, it's all that to say, though, it was very rough, and I really didn't connect with it much, particularly the Jabba plot. I mean, all of the stuff that
he was kind of an idiot too.
Yeah, like, okay, so there's
Completely
so
non-threatening.
there's so many levels here, but yeah, Jabba was a goofball, and you never really, but to be fair, he's a goofball throughout. I mean, like, he throws people to Rancors and stuff, but
he didn't really do any of that. He was just so easily misled.
Right. And then also you get the whole dynamic with his son. So, okay, Nick, what was your reaction to this son, this Huttlet, this stinky little Rata Huttlet?
Stinky the Huttlet.
Yeah.
What was Jabba's nickname for him?
Punky Muffin.
Punky Muffin.
I wasn't a huge fan of the storyline. I thought they could have gone in a different direction to, I don't know, maybe have an instance where you see Ahsoka and Anakin really coming together more instead of trying to protect Jabba's son. I don't know. It seemed a little out of left field, but
and it's another.
I went with it.
Yeah, no, you're kind of forced to, and you're just along for the ride. But when there's an interesting missed opportunity, maybe, or something they might have got. They definitely allude to the fact that Anakin hates Hutts, and there's a lot of
he
stuff.
said it like 3 times.
He says it, but like it's sort of messed up from the perspective of the Jedi. Like they stick Anakin with this, like the guy who was raised on Tatooine, in slavery to Hutts. He was sold from Gardula to Watto, and all the baggage there. Like, what's the line of logic? Are they making him confront his past, or like? But damn, that's ruthless. Like, that's just.
It's, if we go now retroactively looking at canon, they kind of did the same thing with Dooku, sending him to his home planet, which is kind of interesting too.
That is true.
And he met his family, and then they knew. Yoda knew that his family was the royal family, and also knew that his dad didn't like him at all, didn't want him around. So it's kind of, I don't know. The Jedi don't have necessarily the best track record, because they're like, no, it's fine. You've purged your emotions. You won't feel anything for this.
That makes a lot of sense, actually, and it just goes to show the theme that they've been trying to hit home, that the Jedi of the Clone Wars had really lost their way. They made a lot of bad decisions. There was a lot of hubris there. There was a lot of arrogance. I mean, particularly in the Dark Disciple novel we were talking about, just the different ways they act and the decisions they make. But anyway, yeah. So that was something that kind of frustrated me a little bit. Like, we're back on Tatooine so quickly after Episode 2, where he's just like. But it does show why Anakin never ever
and he just
wanted
didn't
to go back.
I don't want to
talk about it. But
speaking of Episode 2, another thing that I hated about this movie when I first saw it was Count Dooku. The fact that Anakin's fighting Count Dooku right after Episode 2, And we have that, like, obviously in episode 3 when he says my powers have doubled since the last time, like we talked about this before. It kills me because it was a wide open retcon where you assume it's been since episode 2, and it's like, no, actually he saw him again like a week later on Tatooine, actually.
So I don't have issue with your side of, or why you have issue there.
Right.
But my issue with it was they didn't talk about, like, wouldn't he still be scarred from losing his hand? Wouldn't
Probably.
he like be mad about that and be like, I'm gonna
There's
kick
no
your ass
emotion.
now? Yeah, he's just, oh, it's Dooku. Let's fight.
And all of that gets better with the series. Frankly, most of the stuff that we've complained about from this movie gets better. The fact that it's a kids show, they realize their audience is more mature than the 8-year-olds they were probably aiming at. Although I still don't know how they were aiming at 8-year-olds with, like, seriously, the level of violence they were going to at the beginning there, the clones that are just getting slaughtered. I guess they get away with it because they're in armor, but I'm like, whoo.
Yeah, it's
there was
pretty
decapitation. They brought in a tray of heads to Jabba. Woo.
All right, so let's move ahead. I gotta get Nick's reaction since he seems to have the most positive outlook on this so far. What'd you think of Ziro the Hutt?
I was wondering why he was so fluent in, I guess, Galactic Common, and Jabba is just, speaking Hutt.
Yeah.
And I didn't know if it was, maybe Ziro is more westernized.
Yeah, he's more worldly, I guess, yeah.
Yeah,
Well, he lives in a strip club, so.
Yeah.
No, I didn't find him a particularly great character.
Don't worry, you see him again, and
he comes
never
back.
gets better. He's the worst.
He's a toy. They made him to sell toys. That's all it is. Bright purple, funky colors.
Man, and he's so obnoxious and over the top. I mean, it's just, you talk about, so like everything else in this movie that I've complained about, even the Huttlet. I mean, like, I was like, all right, this isn't so bad. But then by the time you introduce Ziro, man, it's just gone. It was over.
I will say, as much as like the whole plot of the whole movie didn't make sense, the individual missions they had people on were distinctly Jedi missions, which I did like. It did feel plausible that the Jedi could be sent to go do this so that they could, help garner some sort of relationship with Jabba so that they could use this space and stuff like that. It was a little simple and not thought out very well, and the character.
So Count Dooku
dialogue.
told Ventress to steal Jabba's son so that way he could convince Jabba that the Jedi stole his son, and then manipulate the Jedi to attack Jabba so that the Jabba would blame the Jedi so that Ventress could return the son, and then Dooku would be in good graces with the Hutt.
I don't know. I felt like the latter half of
Wow.
that plot was improvised.
I hope so,
Because I thought the plan was to just kill the Huttlet and blame it on the Jedi. Just capture him, kill it. But then when the Jedi successfully did capture or recapture, they took the video and they're like, look, they've got him. They're the ones who stole it, kind of thing. So I felt like it was improvised. But
if it's improvisation, then that makes a lot more sense. I sort of, because Dooku always acts like he's the man with the plan. And so
it's hard to tell.
Maybe it was him just projecting confidence, but it seemed almost like this was, as all as I have foreseen. And I was just kind of like, wow, this is maybe just like give him some money, and he's a crime boss. How hard can it be?
Right.
Give him some people to throw to his Rancor. Why don't we ever see Rada the Punky Muffin ever again? Did Jabba just like get pissed off and just like
you will never leave your room ever again?
yeets him into the Rancor pit? What? Oh man.
Well, I actually thought it was kind of par for the course. The whole trying to make Jabba think it's going one way and working around the plan. When you look at, Emperor Palpatine, he started a war just so he could become Supreme Chancellor and eventually the Emperor.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole, like, taking a loss to get ahead kind of seems exactly like what they would do.
That's a good point.
Yeah, no, it does make sense, and
Sith tactics, they make no sense.
Yeah, they're very convoluted. I'm not sure how much the Sith can see into the future, how far ahead their foresight works, but if it's like a Doctor Strange, like we've seen all of these sort of
Mm-hmm.
eventualities, and he knows exactly how it has to happen, I guess that makes some sense. But man, there isn't much wiggle room there.
I don't know.
But anyway, okay. So the positives, there were a lot of really cool things that got introduced. It started the whole show, which as a whole, this show does some awesome things for canon, and it does a lot for Star Wars in general. You got to see some really cool ships, some familiar characters that came back around. But yeah, there's a lot of rough stuff to get through for sure. That's about what I got. Anybody else have any final thoughts they want to leave the folks with? Yeah. That's the movie. It happened. We all had to watch it.
We had
But
They gave us Ahsoka. You know.
yeah, Ahsoka does cool things. Ahsoka definitely is here for the long haul, and her character development is one of the best in Star Wars for sure.
There's an interesting point because having grown up reading the different Jedi Apprentice books, this was a little bit of a shock to see that Obi-Wan had just requested a Padawan, like mail order Padawan. I'm like, that's not how this works. Like, where's the selection process? You know,
Right.
what if she's not old enough, kind of thing. And then the fact that Yoda had just assigned her to Anakin was also really weird.
So
Different, but
what-
I mean, wartime. That's kind of goes back to what you're
that's
saying.
What I was going to say.
It's
It's
wartime.
Just, it changed everything, and I think they really had to streamline the process, and that's definitely the
Mail order.
in-universe explanation. Otherwise, the out-of-universe explanation is George Lucas wanted it to be that way, and that's how it was. So I don't know. It hadn't been fully fleshed out yet by the full story group and everything. So
We'll have to look it up too, because I distinctly remember an interview with either Dave Filoni or somebody else and Lucas when he was talking about adding new characters, and he said, talking about Ahsoka, he's like, I don't care as long as that character's dead, or something like this. As long as the characters are dead by the time that this happens, you can do whatever you want.
wow, okay, that's interesting because Lucas was definitely very involved with the whole process. I mean, he was at the writers' room, writers' tables. He was doing all that sort of stuff throughout. So yeah, it was it's very interesting. As people mess around the studio here, I'm trying to. Okay, so that's our general review of this awesome piece of filmmaking, and we've seen it, and now we're all better for it. So we'll move on to the remainder of the series episode by episode, and we'll be back to talk about it then. This is Sides of Corn.